Ever tried like scheduling a meeting when, half your team is practically living in the future and the other half, well, let's just say they think flexible hours is a suggestion, not a lifestyle.
Right.
Virtual teams, am I right? It's like the future of work walked in and it brought some interesting challenges with it.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just, sending a calendar invite and hoping for the best, is it?
Definitely not. So we're diving deep into the world of virtual teams today. We've got some really cool insights from a project management guide we're looking at.
Yeah, a really interesting one.
It's all about engaging and supporting those virtual teams, which honestly feels like it should be its own course in like Work Life 101 these days.
Absolutely. A must-have, really.
So let's get right to it. The guide starts by talking about understanding the needs of virtual team members.
Right. And I think this is where a lot of people maybe miss the mark.
Totally, yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the logistics, like, okay, we need this software, we need that tool. But are we really thinking about the humans on the other side of the screen?
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are we talking about when we say needs? Like, give me an example.
Well, think about someone who, say, they're based in, I don't know, a bustling city apartment, kids running around, the whole 9 yards.
Chaos.
Right. Now, compare that to someone who's set up in a, dedicated home office or maybe a co-working space. Totally different environment.
Nice and day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those differences, they bleed into everything. Communication styles, productivity, even just general well-being.
Which is where I'm guessing having the right tools and knowing how to use them comes into play, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And the guide really digs into this idea of what they call alternatives for engagement.
Right, so like our virtual team toolkit.
Exactly.
Mm.
And it's not just about, use Slack. It's about using Slack strategically.
Yeah.
For example, dedicated channels for project updates, sure. But what about a channel just for, like, sharing pet photos or funny memes?
It's like that virtual water cooler space, right?
Yeah. It's about fostering those casual human connections,
Yeah.
even when you're not physically bumping into each other in the hallway.
I feel seen. Okay, but what about those times when, like, even the best Slack channel can't replace a good old-fashioned handshake?
Yeah, you're talking about that in-person connection, right?
Yeah.
So important. And the guide actually talks about this. Even if it's just a yearly team retreat or, quarterly meetups, if you can swing it, it can make a world of difference in terms of team cohesion and trust building.
Okay, so we've got our toolkit, we've had our team bonding retreat, maybe on beach somewhere, who knows. But like, realistically, managing a virtual team effectively, it's got to be more than just cool tools and the occasional Mai Tai, right?
You're hitting the nail on the head there. It's about, translating all this good intention into actual practical action.
Right. So like, give me the cheat codes here.
Well, one of the simplest, but honestly most effective things you can do, regular check-ins.
Music to my ears, because I am the queen of check-ins.
And I don't mean like formal performance reviews, just a quick, hey, how's it going? Anything I could do to support you this week?
It's that human touch again. And probably a good project management platform helps too, right?
Absolutely essential, I'd say. And the key here is, finding one that offers real-time progress updates.
Ooh, fancy.
It's all about transparency. Everyone can see how their individual tasks fit into the bigger picture, which is so motivating, even when you're not, high-fiving in a conference room.
Like, it's that puzzle piece moment, right? Like, oh, that's where I fit in.
Exactly.
Okay, and speaking of fitting in, how do you create that sense of camaraderie, like that team spirit, when everyone's remote?
Don't underestimate the power of fun, honestly.
Amen to that.
Virtual coffee breaks, online team building games, even just like a dedicated chat channel for sharing funny stories or, whatever's going on in people's lives.
I love that.
We're talking about human beings here, not, robots.
Exactly. And speaking of human beings, sometimes we need a little help, a little guidance, especially in the tech world, which changes like every 5 minutes.
Training. You're talking about training.
Nailed it.
And not just for new hires. Everyone can benefit from a little refresher course on, the latest tools, communication best practices.
It's all about setting everyone up for success, right?
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Even with the best tools, the best training, the best intentions, things change, teams evolve, and sometimes our strategies need a little tweaking, yeah.
100%. And that's why this whole idea of continuous evaluation is so important.
Okay, so like, how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Especially remote.
Think of it like, I don't know, tending a garden or something. You need to keep an eye on what's working, what's not. Maybe adjust your approach based on the season.
I can get behind that analogy.
So in a virtual team setting, that might look like, anonymous surveys to get honest feedback.
Yeah.
Maybe regular team retrospectives where everyone can share what's working well, what could be improved.
Love it.
It's all about creating this open loop of feedback and, constantly striving for that improvement.
So as we wrap up our little deep dive here, what's like one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Honestly, I think it all comes back to that human element. It might sound cliche, but at the end of the day, we're all just, trying to do our best work, connect with others, feel valued.
Yeah.
And in a virtual setting, those small gestures, those little moments of connection, they're more important than ever.
So well said. Whether your team is, spread across continents or just down the hall, a little human connection goes a long way.